You pick up guitar. 2 months later, you're deep into watercolor painting, then pottery, then coding, then astronomy. And somewhere in between, people start asking, why can't you just pick one thing? If that question has followed you your whole life, stay with me. By the end of this, you'll finally have words for something you've never been able to explain. You're not unfocused, you're not flaky, and you're definitely not broken. There's a name for what you are, and once you hear it, a lot of things start making sense. The term is multipotentialite. It was coined by writer Emily Wapnick, and it describes people who have multiple areas of deep interest, who dive in intensely, master the basics fast, and then almost inevitably feel the pull towards something new. Not because they're bored in a shallow way, but because their brain is built to seek novelty at a neurological level. Here's what's actually happening. When you discover a new interest, your brain floods with dopamine, the reward chemical. The learning curve itself is the high. Every new concept, every aha moment, every skill unlocked is a hit. But here's the thing. The dopamine doesn't stay. Once you've climbed most of the curve, once the novelty flattens out, your brain starts looking for the next mountain. That's not failure. That's your reward system, working exactly as designed. You're just someone whose brain gives dopamine for learning itself, not just for the outcome. This usually shows up early. Maybe you were the kid who went through phases. Dinosaurs, then space, then martial arts, then music, while the adults in your life pushed you to pick a lane. You probably heard some version of, "You have so much potential, if only you'd focus." What they didn't understand was that the variety wasn't the problem. The variety was the point. Each interest wasn't a distraction from your real path. It was the path. But here's where it gets interesting. Because people with too many interests don't just collect hobbies, they collect skills. And those skills quietly compound in ways that specialists can't replicate. Researchers studying generalist thinkers, people who span multiple domains, have found that cross-domain knowledge creates something called analogical thinking. You can see patterns across fields that specialists, stuck inside one lane, completely miss. The person who studied music and coding builds better algorithms because rhythm and logic share the same underlying structure. The person who studied psychology and design creates interfaces that actually feel human. Your scattered interests aren't wasted energy. They're raw material for a kind of intelligence that can't be taught in a single discipline. And this is the part that explains everything. The reason you lose interest isn't because you're uncommitted. It's because your learning threshold is genuinely higher than most people's. You consume a field fast, you hit competence quickly, and then your brain, which is tuned for growth, gets restless. Not because you failed the interest, because you graduated it. If you're nodding right now, this next part is for you. The guilt you feel every time you quit something. Every abandoned sketchbook, every unused gym membership, every half-finished course that's not evidence of weakness. That's your brain making room. You're not someone who can't commit. You're someone who commits intensely, extracts deeply, and then moves forward. That's a different thing entirely. Here's the truth nobody tells multipotentialites. The world is built for specialists. School is built for specialists. Career paths are built for specialists. But the problems that actually need solving, the messy, interdisciplinary, human ones, those are built for you. The specialist goes deep in one direction. You go deep in many, and then you connect the dots. That connection is rare. It's also what the world is increasingly desperate for. So if you've spent your whole life apologizing for having too many interests, stop. You're not scattered. You're not unfocused. Your brain is a cross-domain pattern machine that was handed a world with too many fascinating things in it, and it said yes to all of them. That's not a flaw. That's a feature. And next week, we're going deep on why people who feel too deeply are secretly the most resilient people in any room. That one's going to hit different.